Coming up on Cogeco News this Monday, the latest from the health unit on COVID-19. Also, we talked to Anthony Rota and talked to Vic Fideli about that very subject on this afternoon, and reaction from a local para-athlete who was hoping to go to the Paralympics. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Cogeco News. I am Greg Estabrooks. The coronavirus pandemic continues to evolve, and the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit is keeping a close watch on the situation. No positive tests to this point for COVID-19. Clark Heipel is standing by the health unit headquarters on Oak Street with an update. Clark.
Yes, Greg, the global coronavirus pandemic is changing by the minute. Here at the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit, Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Jim Chirico, gives us a snapshot into the world numbers before looking at our local situation.
Throughout the world, we're seeing about 354,000 cases and about 15,000 deaths. In Canada, there are about 1,400 cases and about 20 deaths. Ontario, it's approximately 489 cases with about 6 deaths. We have no local cases in our North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit area, and obviously no deaths.
As of Monday early afternoon, 82 tests have been conducted in the health unit district. So far, there have been 0 positive cases, with 46 results still pending.
Testing is underway when we feel that it's appropriate, and it's really up to the individual clinician, primary care provider, to decide if testing is warranted. Now, you can well imagine that we know that there is a global shortage of testing kits, which is being addressed, and those that really need to be tested will be tested. There is capacity issues as well. When we have lab capacities that really are trying to be expanded as quick as possible, and they're doing a great job. The turnaround time right now for most tests are about 4 days. So those that need to get back quicker are being given the priority that they need to be given.
Social distancing is being urged to stop the spread of COVID-19. Dr. Chirico is encouraged by the community's response.
I've seen it personally, and that the public, employers, they've all really stepped up, and it's really gratifying to see this in the community. So I think that those things are working. You see certainly less people out and about, and we are seeing that these measures are being put in place to help reduce the spread of the disease, to slow the number of people that will get sick. We know people are going to get sick. We can't prevent that from happening. But again, most will have very mild symptoms. We know that there are likely going to be positive cases in our community. And when it could happen in the next 10 minutes. We don't know, but we do anticipate it will happen.
Dr. Chirico says the first step towards determining if a COVID-19 test is necessary is completing a self-assessment. A link can be found on the health unit's website. Reporting from the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit, I'm Clark Heipel for Cogeco News. Let's send it back to Greg in the studio.
Nipissing-Temiskaming MP Anthony Rota is back in the riding and joins us by Skype. Rota is the Speaker of the House and reached out to us on Skype. He also reached out to his Italian counterpart as that country has been ravaged by the coronavirus.
It certainly is something. Just the other day, I called the Speaker of the Italian Parliament to see how he was making out. And if ever there was a feeling of devastation, that was it. It was very difficult. I asked him if he had any advice for us as Canadians, as they are basically ahead of us. And basically what he says, just don't take anything for granted and don't let any grass grow under your feet, and just take everything seriously. And that's what I'm urging all Canadians and all residents of Nipissing-Temiskaming to do.
How can Canada avoid, or will they be able to avoid, the tragedy that befell France and especially Italy?
Well, I think the advantage we have as a country is that we are trailing breaks. We learn their mistakes or what they've done. The worst thing we can do is take it for granted. I know we have some people out there who think they are invincible. I've got news for them, they're not. So please practice social distancing. Keep away from whatever groups are there. If you're going to an event where there's more than a people, keep it to a minimum. And when you're talking to someone, try to stay at least 2 meters away. For those of us who grew up under the imperial system, that need away from people, just talk to each other, but don't come closer than that, because that reduces the risks. And if you're out there and you think that, it's not going to affect you, well, it might be a lot that you're affecting. So that's something that you have to keep in mind when you're out and about, but try to keep it to a minimum.
A lot of people, and there's been a lot of pictures, Anthony, that have circulated of people in this country who have basically given that kind of warning. Is it time for the government maybe to crack down on some of these people, some kind of penalties? So we're not talking martial law here. We are talking about much more strict and putting the fear of God in people. They just can't do this.
It's certainly something that's being considered. I would like to think that Canadians don't need that, but some may need that enforcement or that penalty to keep them in line. It's certainly being considered. There's a discussion being taking place tonight amongst the first ministers and Prime Minister, as well as the ministers involved in that area. So I'm hoping that will come up with a resolution of some sort. I hope we don't have to over that, but I believe we will if necessary.
There is going to be a different kind of common sitting on Tuesday to pass the legislation that millions of Canadians frankly need right now. It's not a handout. It is much needed a lifeline to people that are suffering financially because of this. You're not going to be physically in Ottawa, even though you are the speaker. What are your thoughts about that economic stimulus, and will it unfortunately be the first of many?
It's a package that has been discussed for about 2 weeks now, ever since things started coming about. And I really want to compliment all the parties, regardless of whether it's government, opposition. They all came together, and they're all meeting tomorrow between noon and 4:30. My deputy speaker, Bruce Stanton, will be sitting. He is the chair of the committee of the whole, so he'll be there. And me being quarantined, there's no use both of us switching back and forth and causing any kind of risk to MPs who do travel.
And just a little mention there, Anthony mentioned that he was quarantined and is quarantined for 12 more days because he said he had been out of the country, partly on a personal date and partly on business work as well. So he says he will be in quarantine for another 12 days or so. Once again, Premier Doug Ford addressed Ontarians about the COVID-19 situation, and he is getting a little more stringent in regards to things he plans on doing in this province. He wants to close all businesses except essential businesses. And to talk about that and maybe a financial support from the provincial government, joining me on Skype as well as Mr. Rota we're going to shift it over to Nipissing MPP Vic Fedeli.
The actual list will come out tomorrow. So he's just given notice then that it'll be the businesses will be ordered to close, non-essential businesses, but that list again will come out. But really, it's all about everybody in Ontario doing their part. This will mean that we'll have food on the shelves, access to medication will continue, essential services, things that we need in our day-to-day lives. And so it's a fairly broad list. Cabinet is still putting the finishing touches, but it's a fairly broad list. But it really stems from the fact that people are just not respecting the expression social distancing. I'm talking about people that are returning from the snowbirds who are returning and heading right to a grocery store. We're telling the people, the Prime Minister said it, the Premier has said it, and we're all saying it. You have to stay at home and self-isolate for 14 days, even if you don't have any symptoms. You have to monitor your symptoms like a fever, coughing, shortness of breath. Those are the key areas. You've got to stay 2 meters, 6 feet away from other people. Keep the surfaces at home, keep those clean, keep them disinfected. And there's a self-assessment test that you can take. If you go on ontario.ca coronavirus, you can learn a little bit more about how to take care of yourself and provide a self-assessment.
I had Anthony Rota just on by Skype just before I talked to you. I said, you know, there was a lot of talk about maybe not martial law, but cracking down on people who aren't following the laws. The OPP has sent a release saying that if they can, and if they see it, they may either fine or charge businesses, fine people or charge businesses for not following procedure and protocols.
Well, it's all about protecting the people of Ontario and protecting this province of ours. And that's why it's a very tough decision for the Premier, a business person, to take. But this is definitely the right decision and an important decision. And so the definitive list will come out. But as I said, it's a very broad list. But in the meantime, you know, you have to be able to use some common sense. And, you know, people are still collecting. They're still in larger groups. They're still going out in large groups. This needs to stop if we're going to be able to, again, another expression, bend the curve or flatten the curve. We've got to stop the volume of infected people from happening. And the only way to do that is to be isolated. Well, we absolutely need to.
Okay. I wanted to ask you this question. The federal government is going to pass their stimulus package. Andrew Horwath, the leader of the NDP, said, is there any way that the government of Ontario could send $2,000 to each Ontario family to help them tide them over till that federal money comes? Your thought about that? What will the province do?
So we're doing three things. The first was last week, $304 million, and it was explicitly used in the health field, more hospital beds, more testing, that type of thing. On Wednesday of this week, the next two, I'll call them buckets, the next two buckets will be released. One is for families. It's direct support for families. The second one is business. It's the direct support for business. So those will be announced on Wednesday of this week. But those are only the first step. There's many more steps depending on what happens. The Premier has said we will leave no financial stone unturned. This is exactly why we've been strengthening the balance sheet of the province of Ontario. We're best now situated to be able to respond correctly and appropriately.
We'll have more from MVP Fideli on Tuesday. In other news, and yes, there is other news, Friday came word that once again, North Bay taxpayers were on the hook for another chief administrative officer who didn't actually work in the year that he was supposed to work or could have worked. Keith Robichaud, ousted as CEO in December of 2018, still got paid, says the Sunshine List, over $200,000 as reported by that list late week. North Bay City Communications Department stated the city does not comment on such issues because it is a matter of privacy and municipal law. However, concerned citizen Kevin Fair is getting a lot of press over the last months. Did you think to say?
I wasn't surprised at all with Friday's announcement. You know, there are a lot more people paying attention now, and you can see by the online response to these articles and news stories that people are paying attention, and the party's over. This freewheel spending and sweetheart backroom deals, they're going to be exposed, and the people that engage the city residents in having to pay for this, they're going to be held to account, and we expect answers.
I asked Ferris if he went to other councillors looking for answers in this situation. He said no, he felt it would be a waste of time. But he's also going to continue the Freedom of Information request, maybe very soon.
It's a possibility. You know, it begs the question as to, you know, why are we going through so many CAOs in this town? There's a possibility we could make a request for Mr. Robichaud's employment contract, and while we're at it, we might as well do Mr. Euler's as well to be proactive.
Break time has arrived. Cogeco News, much more when we come back. lighten the load here for a brief moment. Time for a special edition of the Entertainment Insider with Adam Canton. Of course, movie theaters are closed, but streaming services are still operational, despite the coronavirus doing significant damage to the entertainment industry. Adam checked out a new release entitled The Hunt. Here are the boys.
We're taking a look at a new release that should have been released last year, but it has been delayed. What is your take on the film The Hunt?
My take on the film overall is really good idea, kind of putters out at the end. Starts off hot and just loses its momentum in the third act, which is a real shame because they had a really solid idea here that they didn't follow through with. My thoughts about the whole concept is used as a way to kind of show the differences in class inequality. There is a little bit of that, but this twist on the film is more political standing. So it's a certain group of people on one side of the table hunting a certain group on the other side of the table, which is political kind of. It's a great idea, and I really wish they'd taken it to its full potential. Unfortunately, they make changes in the third act and reveal some two big twists that actually flatten it out and make it a little cowardly. I wish they had really gone full tilt with the concept. If they had, I think it would have been even more confrontational, and I think you would have had even more split audiences, but it would have had some guts. It would have been a film worth talking about and revisiting. As is, with the choices they've made, it ends up being a movie with a great idea and some great potential that doesn't live up to it.
Let's hope Clark lives up to the weather and his usually impeccable weather presentation. Mr. Heupel up after this.
Weather is brought to you by Canadore College. Great things happen here.
Welcome back to Cogeco News. I'm Clark Heupel here down at North Bay's waterfront in front of King's Landing. I'm here for your 5-day weather forecast brought to you by Canadore College. We do have an overcast March 23rd on this Monday. However, a sunny day on Tuesday to look forward to with 6-degree high on Tuesday. Now, if you are out and about enjoying the outdoors, you are asked and you are urged to respect the social distancing. It is about 6 feet, 2 meters apart from one another to be safe to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Let's take a look at the 5-day forecast brought to you by Canadore College. Heading overnight on this Monday night, partly cloudy skies and a low of -4 wind chill, not too severe at -6. On the 24th of March, Tuesday now, we do have sun to look forward to with a nice warm high of 6 above freezing. And Tuesday night, we drop below freezing -3 with clear skies. On Wednesday, the middle of the work week, cloudy skies with a high of 7 degrees and an overnight low of the freezing mark on Wednesday night. Thursday now, high of 5 above and a cold low of -10 with chance of rain showers or flurries depending on the temperature. And Friday, ahead the end of the week, high 5, low -5 with sun. Page back to the almanac on Sunday. We have a sunny high of -1 and a cold low of -17. The normal for this time of year, 4 above we should have, and 7 below is normal. Yeah, have it. There is your 5-day weather forecast. Do stay tuned. Greg Brooks will have your sportcast as Canada is not participating in the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. All that more right after this.
Sports is brought to you by Tag Construction for all your construction needs.
Welcome back, everybody. Team Canada says they will not participate in the 2020 Olympics unless they are significantly delayed, and the Paralympics in Tokyo, Japan, later this summer, slated for July. It's looking more and more like the games won't happen this year at all amid coronavirus concerns. We spoke to local athlete Dave Innes, who has trained for many months to compete on the water at the Olympics at the highest level.
Deep down, I think I was, not so much in the steps that it was taken. Deep down, I felt in my heart that, the Olympics, Paralympics were going to be canceled, or I feel they still are going to be canceled. It's just a matter of time. I think they said they have 4 weeks to decide at this point. As far as Team Canada pulling out, personally, I think it was the right choice, and it just goes to show that the coaches and stuff like that, the higher ups are looking at the athletes and coaches' best interests, obviously, because they don't want to take that chance. Because I think a lot of people, what they don't realize is it's not just so much, okay, you've got to go to the Olympics, but you look at a lot of the athletes and how their training is being affected over the next few months. Guys that can't get on the water, or they don't have proper gym set up, or stuff like that. So you don't want to get to the point where, okay, now you got to go, jump on the water and race to perform. That's when injuries happen. And I think a lot the stress factor too for athletes. I know for me, if it was, kind of a crunch time, that stress factor really kicks in as well. So looking after the athletes' health.
The battalion have called for a media